Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Lightforge. This is Adbukta.
This is Merps, and for this week we have a very special guest with us. She is a very high leaderboard player on BGs, the esports Battle Blitz caster and finalist.
Wow.
And of course, wow, I know, best in the world, Sunglitters. Thank you for joining us today, Sun.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for joining us because you are super busy these days.
It's true. Yesterday, I stayed awake until 6 a.m. because the esports arena battle blitz, it started at 11 p.m. CST for me. And I just have to stay awake until 6 a.m. casting. And I wake up at 9 a.m. So yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired.
Yeah, so Sun, you and I talk on Discord sometimes, and then one of the messages I just got was Sun was just like, "Oh, no sleep, time to grind BG."
Yeah, because now you just want to climb on the leaderboard because everyone is just going so hard and everyone wants to be on those like top 10 list, and I want to try to get number 1 too, but everyone is just playing so much.
Yes, I believe the scientific term you referred to them as were nerds.
And nerds, yes.
Yeah, these nerds getting in the way of your climb. But for those listeners out there, I want to let you guys know ahead of time, this week's Lightforge podcast is entirely BGs. We are not talking about Arena, which Sunglitters definitely never played before. Okay, she never ever played. Definitely never ever hosted.
If you remember, like an episode of the Lightforge from a year and a half ago, where we had Sunglitters, and that's a different Sunglitters. Also another German lady. But this is a totally different Sunglitters now.
No, that wasn't Sunglitters. That was Gun Slitters. Okay, that was Gun Slitters.
Yes.
Very different. Very, very different. Very quiet. Very contained. Nothing like Sunglitters that we have right here. But Sun, since you're talking about that tournament, let's just jump into that. You're referring to the esports Battle Blitz tournament in which we've already had 3 qualifiers with an upcoming qualifier and a finals. Tell us about this.
Yeah, so I really like this tournament because it's not only invited players, and maybe the whole Battlegrounds community can be involved because there are 4 qualifiers. We played 3 already. There's gonna be one last one, and it's super cool. Like every qualifier, 2 people are invited to the finals, and the finals consists of Dog, Show, Slister, Super JJ, Collins, me, 12 wins, and some others, and it's gonna be fun. And Dreads casted. Dreads. Arena Dreads, KW, and Heatwave.
Yeah, they really scraped the bottom of the barrel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They blew all of the resources getting you and Slissa, and for the finals they just couldn't find anyone. But what they lack in casting skills, they made up for in BG talent, because that is a very star-studded lineup that you guys have. People with different experiences, but everyone who obviously have played a lot of Battlegrounds. We have one last qualifiers. This is happening on Thursday. You and Slissa will continue to cast it. And I would like to encourage people to definitely sign up. I think there are still spots, and if there aren't, there's a waiting list.
So.
Yeah, there's a waiting list. And I know that for the previous tournament, a lot of people got in off the waiting list, because when you're dealing with a field of 256 players, a lot of people don't show up. A lot of people have difficulties. I even got into a qualifier earlier this week. We don't have to talk about my placements, right? I definitely made it far. I definitely played super duper well, right? Sun, can you back me up on this?
Yeah, it was fantastic seeing 0 games.
Yes. Well, you saw 0 games because I blew away my competition so easily.
Yeah.
I got 0 points. But okay, so anyways, this is super duper cool because, like you said, anyone can sign up, and we have the big dogs, or literally the big dogs, like Dog is in there. But all these prominent members of the community who are playing in there, and we give a chance for everyone to participate. I wanted to talk a little bit about what you have seen thus far, because we have a new patch, right? We have a new elemental patch,
Yes.
and it's one that you have played a ton, and it's one in which you've seen a lot of play, a really high level play through these tournaments as well. So let's just open it up a little bit and get your kind of reactions on the first few days.
So during casting, I actually learned a lot for my own gameplay. So obviously there is a lot of stats right now with elementals, right? They get huge with Nomi, with Little Rag. And what I've seen pop up is like you have yourself a very big combo already, but then you just swap over to the Divine Shield Poison combo. And I see it so much. Like the Spore, the 1/1 that is now on Tavern 4, I feel like allowed this to happen much more frequently, even if Murlocs are not in the game. And then you just level up to Tavern 6, get your Mexna, and then you have a full board of Divine Shield, Baron, and maybe a Parrot. And yeah, I feel like it's pretty cool. I mean, that's like the only counter thing to Elementals right now, and then you just have to evaluate if you can get first with what you have or not. And I think I've seen this quite often in the tournament.
Yeah, definitely. So a little bit of background for you guys. Sun's been playing a ton. She's been casting a lot as well. I played a lot in the first 2 days. In fact, I was, out of all the streamers, I know I was the first to 10K. Not that it really means much, but it did mean that I played a lot. And then when the leaderboards came out, I was number 5. And then I stopped playing because I was a little bit tired of it. I'm not like Sun. I don't have the endurance of all
You
these.
were so fast, though. You played so much. Holy crap.
That's what Merps is good at. When he needs to grind, he can grind for a long time.
To grind, I can grind. And I think I was, at least for the first 2 days, I played about as well as anyone played in terms of understanding the meta, in terms of understanding what you had to do, which is very high roll. But the meta the first 2 days was actually different than the meta now. Like the meta now has changed from the first 2 days. And I can talk about that a little bit more. But so I played a lot. Sun has played a lot. Adopta, you have played...
I have played exactly 0 minutes of anything Hearthstone for the last week and a half. Basically since the last Arena Coup. That is when I quit Hearthstone for at least the whole entire month of October. My goal is to never open up the Hearthstone client until November comes around. We're going to see if I succeed in that. But my only purpose on this podcast is to be the idiot that asks them the questions when they do stuff. And I'm like, what do you mean? I have literally not been keeping up with anything. I know elementals are out. I don't know what any of the elementals do. I know Rag is insane because I looked at the win rates, and the average placement for Rag is like 3 or something. I think historically higher than 3. Oh my god. So it can't be a good meta. I know that without playing a single minute of the game. And then there's all this tournament stuff going on. That's the extent of my knowledge. Oh, Arena went dual class, and some people in chat are asking about it. The tier list is being updated. It will go live any minute now / tomorrow / maybe Tuesday latest. But it the Demon Hunter being inserted made it so we couldn't just hit a button and then release the tier list. In fact, we had to do a lot of work on it. Not that much, but like a decent amount of work on it. And then we had to hit the button, and then we have to let it calculate for like days. So it's a whole process, but it'll be out soon. And so you'll have that on the Arena side. But yeah, that's where I am right now with Hearthstone.
Gotcha. Yeah. So this podcast will be a lot of me talking to Sunglitters and going back and forth about how the meta is, and then Adopta interjecting every once in a while and be like, "What is X?" And I'll be like, "Whoa, dude, we're like 20 minutes past that already." Like,
wait, did they make a new minion called X, or is that a hero?
Yeah, this is going to be a little bit rough. Okay, this is going to be a little bit rough. I literally don't think he even looked at the patch notes. I'm not sure about this. But this will be interesting. So Sun, okay, let's focus on the guest who actually knows things rather than the host who knows nothing. Okay. So Sun, let's first talk about the most prominent new hero, Ragnaros, right?
Yeah.
Ragnaros is the king of Battlegrounds right now. As I'm looking at HS Replay, this is for the top 1%. which is 2.4k. So one thing to note that Aegis replay stats right now aren't great because it's hard for them to, because
2.4k is kind of low.
Yeah, it doesn't really capture things great. But Ragnaros right now, for the quote top 1%, is sporting a 3.1 average placement. This is historically high. This is amazingly good.
So guys, what does Ragnaros do?
Oh my god. All right. I will say this, and then Sun. I'm going to try to save Sun some energy and also brain power from these questions, like from you. Okay?
I mean, I'm sure our listeners would love to know what Rag does for those who have not read the patch notes or played a game in the last few days.
Yeah, it's just you, dude. It's like, so I'm asking for a friend for our listeners. What Rag? Okay, Ragnaros is hero power is passive. After you kill 20 enemy minions, you get another hero power, and this other hero power essentially says at the end of your turn, give your leftmost and rightmost minion +4/+4 permanently. It's amazing. Yes.
Every turn. At first when I read this, I was like, oh, is this like one-time thing? One time +4/+4. It's like, this looks kind of weak, but it's at the end of every turn. So you just put a Divine Shield minion on the left or a Cleave on the left and just get them super big.
Yeah, it's very easy to get high placements with Rag because what you see is by activating it on turn 6 is early, like turn 6 is very optimistic. You can usually activate in turn 7. Turn 7 is like the turn in which you expect to activate it, right? And then after that, you want to pick up or already have the Cyclone Elemental or the Deflecto bot, right? Those are things that usually start up buffing. If you pick up a Hydra, that's great. But the buffs that you get a lot of times
are Merps, what is a Cyclone Elemental?
Oh my god. Ooh, okay. The minion I'm referring to is a new elemental minion that is on tier 3. It's a 4/1 with Divine Shield and Wind Fury.
Ooh, fancy.
And if you triple it, you get Mega Wind Fury.
Oh.
So if you have it as Ragnaros, obviously the health is very high, and then it attacks 4 times, and then it just kills 4 minions at once. That happened to me today. It killed my whole entire board. I couldn't do anything.
It's so good against like the Goldrin comp, you know, which wants to attack and then which not only wants to attack first, but you know, like every attack buffs it. So it's funny to see a single Cyclone able to decimate that entire board, which we're used to seeing as like, you know, by the end of the Goldrin attacks, it's a board of like 100 minions, right? Just to see one Cyclone wreak havoc on it and then completely destroy it. But anyways, so Rag is in that kind of place right now where, you know, you start buffing and then you can level. Sun, what are your thoughts on Rag? Like, do you think it's problematic?
I think it is. Look, imagine if the hero power would be +3/+3. It would still be super good. So I don't know why it's instantly +4/+4. Right?
Pay to win. This is our conclusion from the last episode.
No. Rag is no. They get Rag. Because Rag is not a new hero.
Oh, Rag is not a new hero. Oh,
yes. Only Valkyries. So this is.
So we had Rag. They just redid Rag. I see. Okay.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah, I just think he's too strong, and I feel like the nerf would be pretty easy. Just put it down to 3/3, and it's still good.
Yeah. So. We've had ideas around the community where it's like, okay, you either nerf the stats that they give, and it seems like they like this whole double +4/+4 because it's like 8, and with Ragnaros 8 is like the magic number, right?
Yeah.
But people have also talked about increasing it to 25 minutes, for example, instead. Do you have a preference on one of these? Do you think one is better than the other?
Ooh. I don't know, like when you increase the number of minions that you have to kill, it would come down later. That's really difficult to think about. Like sometimes now, like, do you remember when I don't want to call out Wobbeweezy, but yeah, we call it Wobbeweezy here. So in the tournament yesterday, in the finals, Wobbeweezy picked Ragnaros, and we were like, yes, Wobbeweezy's gonna win. But then he basically died before the hero power came online. Or like he got the hero power, but it was too late, basically, and we couldn't scale fast enough.
Yeah. And like the meta is at such a point where one turn, especially turn 7 versus turn 8, turn 8 versus turn 9, you
Exactly.
are looking at a world of difference. You're looking at,
Mhm.
it's like, okay, we understand that in Battlegrounds, the difference between turn 1 and turn 2 is oftentimes 0, right? Like
Yeah.
no stats are increased, except for some characters. The difference between like turn 2 and turn 3 is like some stats, turn 3 and turn 4 is like some stats, it's like a little additive. When you get to the difference between turn 7 and turn 8 versus turn 8, turn 9, 9, and 10, you're looking
Yes.
at numbers that you are just like, how, right?
Crazy. I took from Mayev turn 9 30 the other day. While I was strong, I just died. Good 8th. Yeah, like sometimes you just face people that are way too strong for turn 9. I think it's specifically like around turn 9. And then you just can't do anything against it. And it feels like you've played the game well, but just because you fought that one player, you're dead now.
So are these
Yeah.
players like specific heroes like Rag, or is it just kind of everybody?
I think it's specifically Mayev because they can
Mayev,
high roll
mhm.
their 5 drops very high or 6 drops or whatever they choose to get. And then they just deal way too much damage, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, son. I think Maiev is the most problematic hero in the game. So people are focusing a lot on Rag and Jandis still, right?
Mhm.
But I think Maiev is the worst kind of offender, and it is one of the worst heroes that's pushing the meta in this way, because you are able to triple up and you're able to just kind of beat this curve. Like there
Mhm.
is this supposed sort of like rule that holds back all of these heroes and prevents them from getting these high tier minions too fast. And Maiev consistently breaks the rule. It just doesn't apply to her because, like, a lot of people ask me, they're like, Merps, I don't understand exactly how she's powerful. I'm like, think of it this way. You are just buying Kalgos for 3 gold starting from turn 1. Think of it that way. You're buying Kalgos for 3 gold starting on turn 1,
Mhm.
and you are able to turn gold from earlier turns. Like you pay 1 gold on this turn, you pay another gold, and then you turn that into Kalgos. Like other heroes, they can't even just only spend 3 gold to get Kalgos. They have to spend it later on, right? Whereas Maiev is able to bank and save up and then get that Kalgos. So I had a game where I played. This was on the 2nd or 3rd day. This was on a 3rd day patch. So this is when I was already getting a little bit tired of the meta. I queued into Dog. I was facing Dog. I was Jandis.
Yeah.
And I was having a decent game. And on turn 8 versus Dog's Maiev, which I wasn't watching his stream, but obviously it's Dog, so I'm sure he played the way he should be, and he played very well. On turn 8, he had Razorgore, double Kalgos, who were already buffed. His Kalgos were already in like 12 or 14 attack by that point. And for those Addleton listeners out there, it starts with 4 attack, right? Okay, there you go. And I died. I took like 25 or 30 damage. I forgot. I killed nothing on his board. Like my Jandist minions were not big enough for his Razorgore and double Kalgos. And I died on turn 8. And my only mistake was facing Dog on turn 8. That was it.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people mention Jandis as well as being too powerful, but I feel like it's a difference in losing to Jandis compared to Maiev, because with Jandis you can kind of know how much damage he's gonna deal, and it's barely above 20. But for Maiev, you just don't know if you're gonna take 30 or like 10. And I'd rather lose to a Jandis later than to a Maiev on turn 9. Like turn 9, Jandis can never kill you. and then it feels less bad, even though she's really powerful, in my opinion.
Yeah, Jandis to me has that Tyrion feel, right? Where
Mhm.
Tyrion, when Tyrion was ruling the meta, would consistently beat you in the early and mid game. But because Tyrion was having all of these like Wrathweavers, Righteous Protectors, right? Like all of these like small tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 units, he wouldn't deal that much damage to you. It's the same thing with Jandis. A lot of times you're killing off, especially in the mid game, all the rest of her minions, and you're just leaving that 1 or 2 pogos on the board. So she'll chunk you for like 7 damage, right?
Mhm.
It's not a lot. And yeah, with Maiev, and Twitch chat's also talking about Omu. Omu's also a huge offender of this, right?
Yeah.
You just don't know, and you face them, and you have to kind of pucker up and say, "Oh man, I hope I don't get hit by 25 damage, 30 damage," because it happens way more often than you would like.
Yeah.
So, what do you think like has to be done about this? Like, if you were in charge and you could do anything with the meta, kind of, what would you do? And it doesn't have to be big sweeping things. It doesn't have to be like a specific like I want my hero power change to this. Kind of, what would you like to see done about this?
Yeah, I would have no idea how to balance Maiev without making her unplayable. I feel like, right, like, for example, when Hook Task was super OP, they changed her unplayable. And that happened with a lot of heroes. So I wouldn't know what to do with Maiev, but I was thinking about things like changing the health of heroes to make them more vulnerable or less vulnerable. Like Patchwork, for example, he has just a lot of health, but I feel like we could just adjust the health of a lot of heroes, or you do things like, okay, you can take maximum 10 damage on round 5 or whatever, and then you can't die or something. I don't know. Like it's really difficult. I wouldn't know how to do it.
Yeah, that's an idea I've heard of a lot of times. That, like on the subreddits, people have talked about, okay, what if we cap damage, right? And capped it at even a reasonable amount. So, like on turn 7, you
Mm-hmm.
can't take more than, let's say, 15 damage. On turn 8, you can't take more than
Mhm.
20 damage. Something that's still reasonable.
Yeah.
And really just it shouldn't be applicable in most instances, but it just prevents that that in like those times in which you face the mega high roller, and I'm just like, okay, well, that was a waste of my time. There was literally nothing I could have done. My only mistake was facing the Millhouse, the Maiev, the whoever
It's because
at
the
that
way
point.
Yeah.
damage works in Battlegrounds, like how much damage they tally up and deal to you, is very much divorced from how the game plays out. So it never feels fair how much damage you get hit, because it's kind of this arbitrarily generated damage. Like maybe the tiering up part makes sense, but then each minion having it based on its tier that it survives, like it's very tentatively related to how well you're playing the game and how much you beat your opponent by.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a huge disconnect, right? Because you're looking at because the battles are kind of fought and won using this sort of battle strength kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing, right? So like your 150 pogo that deals in battle that deals a ton of damage unless you have a 1/1 spore. Um, but when it comes to dealing face damage, that 150 pogo deals less than half of the damage that a strong shell scavenger will deal to you, right? That
Mm-hmm.
someone just put at the very end, or a 2/4 brand that someone puts. So, yeah, like this is also something that people have mentioned, in which you have a couple of different things at play here. It's like you have battle strength, but that is widely disconnected with the actual face smork damage that is done at the end. And I don't know if we want to change it to more evenly match that as well, because what you're trying to go for is battle strength, right? You're trying to go for battle strength, and then when that is like sort of sorted out through the semi-randomized battles, suddenly it's like, okay, well, now we're going to base on the actual damage dealt on these like weird factors, or these tierings.
Yeah. This meta just feels like bad because you just take so much damage and you just have no time to make a comp. Like either you triple into a 5 and then you get a bad minion, or you get Nomi and you win, or you get Little Rag and you win. But I feel like a lot of the times you can't even wait for the second triple, and then you're just trying to survive, make top 4, but that usually doesn't happen. I feel like for me, either I get 8th or I get 1st, and I feel like it just happens way too much. And also, I feel like the heroes right now, they're too imbalanced. Like I don't know, if you get Maiev, if you get the Ragnaros, you're happy, but they're like there's no comparison to them. Like they're just so much better than the others.
Okay, son, how many heroes would you nerf, and which ones would they be? You don't have to say how you're going to nerf it. Yep, just which ones would you nerf? Which ones do you think are too powerful and something needs to be changed about them?
Ragnaros, Jandice, Maiev.
3?
I feel like Milhouse is very strong, but I think he's still okay. Omu is strong, but I think he's okay too. But I think these 3, they're a little bit too strong.
I agree with that. I think your list and my list would be the same, except I would add an Omu. I think he's less consistent than Maiev, but he has that Maiev potential, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, so in my opinion, that's the problem with the game right now, in which when Battlegrounds began, a lot of heroes, could aim for the late game, and then, it was a different game back then, right? It was a different game with like even amalgams that you could buy, but people were playing sort of mid-game comps, right? This is when mechs ruled, and a lot of people just stayed on 4, and some people went on 5. Now we're at the point where there is no mid-game, but you can't even stay, down. Like whenever you're talking about strategy games, you're like, oh, if people are playing greedy, I should just punish them, right? Well, there's no way for any one individual in an 8-player lobby to punish these like greedy players. So what is your only kind of option here? If you try to play mid-range right now, you still get blown out. Like if you face the right? Like you still get blown out. So your only option is to high roll the best out of everyone in the lobby. And that's kind of it. So we're at this point where everyone is trying to high roll because there is no other option. It's like there's no counterplay. It's not like Control Warrior, it was really good in the arena. I'm playing Aggro Hunter, I'm getting underneath them. There's no sort of way for you to do that. And so I was curious about your opinion on this because I've seen it as well. We're obviously talking about the good heroes, the Ragnaroses, the Jandices, the Maievs, the Milhouses, Omus, etc. I've begun ranking higher the heroes that can just high roll. If we're talking about and we know Reno is good, but I'm talking about the Flurgles, even the Galakron. Sometimes I'm like, that's a hero that can high roll as well. They're just so much better than like Adulta. You're going to be sad about this. Daryl is in a terrible spot right now.
What?
Yeah,
that's not possible.
No. Daryl's hero power is too slow.
What do you mean by a terrible spot? Do you mean like he's no longer the top 3, or do you mean he's like below average now, like below Finley?
I would pick Finley over him every time.
Really?
I know some people disagree with it. I've heard people say Daryl is not that bad, but I don't pick him. I thought that he is too slow too, but some people still like Daryl, but I think they're wrong. I think they're wrong.
Yeah.
I actually won with Flurgle today. That was amazing.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think Flurgle is decent, and we saw like a good Flurgle showing in the tournament, right? Didn't Flurgle win a finals game?
Finals game? I don't remember. I was too tired. I don't remember.
I think the answer is yes. I think it was in the final game actually that the Flurgle won. And you know me, whenever Flurgle wins, I'm smiling. So I think that for these sorts of heroes, that's unfortunately the kind of way to play right now. And Daryl, I've played 3 Daryl games during my my grind this season. I did not top 4 in any of them. And it was not because of and I played Daryl in a similar fashion, and I just ran into suddenly on turn 8, they had double little rag with a Nomi, right? And I just died. I couldn't get through. I couldn't kill anything, and then I just died. There were times. Oh, another one of my losses was on turn 8. I faced a Reno who tripled and like took so much damage. Went up to 5, got an Imp Mama, golden the Imp Mama, and then I died to like a 40 damage board because the Imp Mama kept hitting like my small stuff. But it's like, no matter sort of which way it happens, it always just happens somehow. Like it just happens and I just die.
Yeah, it really feels like that there's no mid game anymore, like you said. Like today, for example, I played a juggler comp. In the past, there was like a safe top 4 comp, but I tried so hard and I got top 5 with it. Like there's just no room for these kind of comps anymore. They just disappeared from the game, I think. Like when was the last time you saw a juggler comp? I don't know. Like I've tried it today, didn't work.
Right. Because the point at which other builds outclass you / get too many stats has been sort of pushed forward so much. Because what used to happen before is you have juggler comps, and for at least 3-4 turns, you're feeling pretty good, right? You kind of just beat up on whoever, and it takes a while for that Kalagos comp or for that big Murloc comp in order to catch up. But now with everyone kind of rushing for these high tier units and scaling units, that double little rag comp beats you not in 3-4 turns, but in 1 turn, the next turn. Already too much stats. And then, of course, you don't end up killing either of the little rags, and suddenly it's 15 damage to your face minimum on that turn, and then the next turn you also just die.
Okay, so you guys keep talking about the problem from the perspective of certain heroes and how the meta is shaking out. What role does the elementals have to play with this? Because I'm looking at HS Replay right now, and 40% of comps are elementals.
Yeah.
That's an insane percentage, mostly because elementals are not even in the game like 20% of the time.
No, they're always in the game.
Oh, they're always in the game now. Okay. That's still ridiculous. Like I said, I haven't opened the game. I have not opened the game. I am not lying about this.
Yeah, you definitely are not lying about this.
40% is still really high, even if they're in every single meta. I mean, every single game.
I think elementals play a huge role because I think that's the reason why everyone is trying to triple into 5s now and not so much 6 drops. Because now on 5 you have Little Rag and you have Nomi.
Okay, son. Let's break this down. What is a Little Rag, and what is a Nomi?
Okay, so the official name is actually Little, like Lil. So Little Rag is incorrect.
Little Rag. I can't pronounce that. That's too many consonants next to each other. That's not how the English language works. The small rag. What does a small rag do?
So, oh my god, how do you explain this? So, Little Rag, what are the stats? It's a 5 minion. I think it's a 5/5.
It's a 4/4.
It's a 4/4.
It's a 4/4. And whenever you play an elemental, you buff a thing on your warband. And the buff is based on the tavern that the elemental that you played is on. So for example, if you play a tavern 5 elemental, some minion on your board will get 5/5. So for example, it will also go on a Hydra, not only on elemental. So it's like a super good scaling unit. And the same goes with Nami. It's different but similar. So Nami is a 4/4, right? And whenever you play an elemental, every elemental in your shop will get buffed forever. So if you play a Salamental, a 2/2, you can play it basically twice, and then you get +2/+2 on every elemental that you will buy in the next forever.
Wait,
And then
Next forever.
really?
next forever, yes. So
It
you will
permanently
have,
buffs like Bob's Tavern and all elementals in the Bob's Tavern?
Yes.
yeah.
Oh my god.
So the faster you get it, the more it gets out of control. So if you have 2 Namis, they get +2/+2 for every elemental. And it's just insane. Like on turn 11, you will buy 20 elementals from a shop, for example.
Yeah.
Huh.
It's out of control.
And
Yeah,
I'm guessing the idea is that those Nami things will make you lose in the mid game, but that's not happening.
No, it's not happening. Or what happens is you take some damage and you tank some damage, but you're not taking as much damage as you think you might be taking. Like
Mhm.
you, Adam said, like you think these heroes are taking because everyone is trying to high roll. So
Mhm.
what happens is on turn 1, some damage is dealt. Turn 2, whatever. Turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, turn 6. The game hasn't even really started yet. Everyone is aggressively leveling up, right? Everyone is
Mhm.
aggressively leveling up. And then suddenly, starting from turn 7, that's like the trigger. That's when people get like something really good and then they just pop off. They completely pop off. So, what you're thinking of when you're like, oh, okay, but don't people just die when they do this? No.
This happens
Like,
too early for people to die?
yeah, it happens too early. They get it too early for them to die. And because everyone is doing it, the damage that they're taking by being, quote, greedy, sometimes they don't even take damage because other people are greedier.
Mhm.
And like I said, if you think in your head, oh, well, can I just get under them? No, you as one player, maybe you can beat up like one or 2 other players, but then you just die, right? So it's never worth it for you to do that. So yeah, this is what happened. And now you know what Rag and Nomi do.
Okay, interesting. So elementals are, we'll say, a very late game kind of tribe.
It's not only late game, because it's also good in the mid game. You just basically need 2 turns of Nomi, 2 turns of Rag, and then you already have a good comp. For example, if you remember the Cyclone that we talked about,
Mhm.
and then when you buff it with Rag, and if you buff it with Nomi, it's just gonna carry you.
Mhm.
Like the elementals are just too good, I think.
Yeah, I think the elementals have added to the issue. It's not something where elementals came on and we had a great meta before, and none of this is problematic. But yeah, it certainly added to the issue. I think something that Sun mentioned is very important of how good 5-drops are, and really, other than Caligos, all the good scaling units are on 5 down. So. What you're just trying to do is like bum rush to 4 as fast as possible, and then bam, like discover that 5, get something good, and then try to super scale at that point. And on 6s, it's really just a Malgadon, and then you have Caligos, but let's face it, Caligos is just not what it used to be.
No, it's too slow. Unless you have like maybe the Divine Shield dragons already set up, but if you have bad dragons without Divine Shield, it's typically, I don't know, my experience has been that it's too slow in most games.
Yeah, I remember I played Alexstrasza. I think this was on stream on Friday, and out of my discovers, I got Razorgore and Caligos. That should have been like, that's amazing, right? That's an easy win. And then I died in 2 turns because someone was so much bigger than me, like so much bigger than me. But look, we've talked about how the meta is, and we've obviously shared our frustrations. People look, but strategy, still matters to some degree. There are still ways to kind of do well in the meta. Like Sun, you've been doing very well. You're very high in the leaderboards right now. Can you share some tips, whether it's very specific tips or general strategies, for our listeners to help them sort of gain MMR and climb?
Yeah. So I'm trying to pick the good heroes, obviously. So if you see Ragnaros, just pick Ragnaros. But I think also heroes like Lich Baziel, like the one where you take damage and get coins, is pretty good right now. Because you also can just level and just keep your coins for the turn 4 and then triple into 5s. I feel like you just have to take those risks like we talked about. Avoid I think the cat, I mean, I feel like it had a place in the previous meta. I'm seeing your face. What?
The cat was fine.
No, the cat is very bad, I think.
I don't mean here. I mean in the previous meta. I was agreeing with you. I know nothing about this meta. Remember, I none of the statements I make that are statements are going to be about this meta.
I feel like the cat right now is too bad because you just die.
Yeah,
you just die. You can't do anything with it. In the previous meta, I feel like it was okay. Like sometimes you could high roll if you would play safe and make like a mid game build. For example, like Divine Shield comp, you could go with her and then wait until people die. But now I feel like it's not really something you can do anymore because you really want those 5 drops so quickly. And I feel like Crag is also getting better because you can save your goal to level up quickly to 7-5. And yeah, I think you just have to try. I just have to try to get those 5 drops. And don't be so scared of getting 8th place. Because I feel like if you take more risks, you're more likely to climb than to play safe right now. So I just try not to be too sad if you go 8th and just try to high roll.
I think that's
I've been doing.
Yeah, I think that's important to recognize that these risks that you're taking are very necessary. And if you're playing out of fear and being like, oh, but I can't level, or oh, maybe I should just settle for some stats and not search for that triple. In this meta, it's not correct. And that's also what I like to say about my 0-point performance. I was like, oh, I played correct. I just, I do think I got a little bit unlucky, baby rage. But it's sort of, it really is the meta in which you're just giving yourself that one shot, right? That one turn in which it's like, okay, I'm going to find something here and I'm going to get first or I'm going to die. And that's the way you play it. So Adopta, you would hate this meta.
Yeah, right? Oh yeah. This is definitely the meta of me not playing. I mean, Arena's in dual class. Battlegrounds sounds terrible right now. Okay, guys. Do you think this is the worst Battlegrounds meta that has existed? Or do you think one of the earlier ones, like the earlier Demon meta or the earlier Murloc meta, or, one of the ones everyone hated back then, was potentially worse?
So I think right now we're still in the phase of, okay, the leaderboard is reset. Everything seems kind of fresh. We have a lot of new things and people want to play a lot. But I think this meta is the worst meta because you have no time for anything. And it's just like high roll. And it feels like your skill doesn't matter because sometimes you just die and take 30. And it might not be... I feel like the meta is still fun because if you high roll, it's super fun. It's fun to kill people early and make them feel bad about their day, basically. I don't know. I mean, it's fun. I don't know. I like killing people in Battlegrounds. It's great. But I think if you're on the other side, it just feels so terrible that you just can't do anything against it, and it feels like your skill doesn't really matter in those kind of games. See, and I think that makes the meta pretty bad.
Son, I'm gonna play psychoanalyst here for a second, and it's normal for you to say I like to kill people in the game, but you had to add and make them feel bad about their day.
I knew that you would say this, and that's why I said it.
Okay, that's real convenient. Yeah, because that's not true. Okay, son. Wow, good try. But yeah, so look, Adam, to your question, I think whenever you proclaim something as the worst meta, it's always a little bit subjective, right? It's about what you enjoy. And it depends whether or not you sort of like enjoy kind of crazy gameplay or enjoy high rolling. For me, I would say yes. Like, I know some people are saying stuff like, oh, I hated the demon meta, right? Because the demon meta, everyone just forced demons and everything. I think there were some interesting, nuanced decisions in the demon meta, and I liked making those decisions. I think that there are obviously still a lot of decisions that you make here, but to me, it feels worse to play. So for me, yes, this is the worst meta, with the understanding that, this is a question, it's just going to depend on how you like to play, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, I do think that for me, this is probably the worst. Son, you talked about the MMR reset and how, yes, we're having lots of fun with the new cards and we are just sort of still figuring out the meta. But the MMR has been reset. The leaderboards have been reset, although with a slight delay. How are you finding the climb back up?
Yeah, so the way it works is that you have an internal MMI. So the internal MMI is based on your previous MMI. So if you had 12,000, for example, before the reset, your internal, no, you will gain more MMI until you are at a level that is close to it. So you will gain like now 300 MMI for getting a third place, for example. And I feel that felt good because climbing fast feels good. But I also think that the MMR reset is it doesn't really feel like a reset because now when you look at the leaderboards now, like the people that were at the top, they are at the top again because they're nerds and they're playing all day, and they have like 13,000 again on the leaderboard, and it doesn't really feel like that. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like a reset. Like it's been only a few days and everything almost looks the same already again.
No, it's absolutely correct. And I want to clarify something that Sun is saying because I think some people might misinterpret it and be like, "Oh yeah, of course." It's like, for example, I know like Victor Collins and Wobble were having like a battle for like number one for a while, right, in the past few days, and they're like, "Of course, these are good players. They like good players are going to be number one." The point that Sun is making is that no reset actually happened. If you look at these numbers and say, "Oh yeah, a reset happened," no. The internal MMR system is still in place for what we know, and most likely, that system never changed. So the
Mhm.
faulty MMR system that I complain often about on this podcast because of number inflation, because of this stuff, that's still the same. You just have this external meaningless number that will quickly become, because Blizzard says we're going to try to get you
Hmm.
back to the real number to get there. So this whole idea of me sort of complaining about the fact that, okay, right now 15K is sort of the magic number, right? Like that's the magic number. In a couple months it'll be 16K, then it'll be 17K, then it'll be 20K, and then like right now 15K is huge. We're going to look back in like a year if this isn't changed and just be like, "Oh, you're 15K, please." like excuse me. So
Wait, so do we know that they haven't changed anything about internal MMR, how that works?
they obviously are not transparent, but people are already 13K.
Right, but so they haven't claimed that they've changed how internal MMR works?
Oh no! In fact, that they have said it's like you have. All they said is we have an internal MMR system, but
Okay.
Mhm.
according to the external MMR, it's like all they're trying to do is just push you towards
Yeah.
the
So
number
the
that you have.
external MMR system works the same as Overwatch if you played Overwatch. They just basically took the same system. Which means no one should care about this system except in the first couple of days and trying to figure out what the hell is happening to my SR, to my ratings in Hearthstone. But the internal MMR system not being touched at all feels terrible. Like
Yeah.
they're not even claiming that it was touched.
No.
Wow.
They didn't provide information, but it's more about what they didn't say, right? They talked
Right.
a lot about how this external MMR system
Yeah.
works, but they never said anything about the internal MMR system and even the fact that it changed. And because of the way I'm seeing this progress and where people are sort of ending up and how they're slowing down slash
Mm-hmm.
not slowing down, I'm like, yeah, I don't think they changed anything at all with the internal system.
Yeah, I think I just stopped getting extra points. And before the reset, I think I was 12,400 or something. And I stopped getting extra points at 11,500, I think.
Yeah, that
So,
makes sense. Because you're approaching your quote true MMR, and the system says, okay, well, this is where she should be on until she shows that she has like improved according to our algorithm. But
mhm.
yeah, to me, it just feels so empty. because I wanted an actual change in the system. Because right now, it took like 2-3 days for people to get back to their true MMR system with plus 300 per top 4 or victory or whatever. We run into the same issue once we reset. Like during the next season, because of the MMR inflation, as we've seen that is prevalent in the old system, then all it means is like, okay, it'll take longer for you to get back to your true MMR, which is going to be like, for the top players, 17K instead of 15K now. Then it'll be 20K, then it'll be 22K, et cetera, and it'll keep going on. So we never solved the problem of inflation of a poor system. We just kind of put like some scotch tape over it. It's not even duct tape, it's like scotch tape. It's really weak. So and then we're just doing this for every single kind of reset.
Did they say how many times they want to reset?
Is it 3 or 4 times a year? I don't remember.
Really? Only 3 or 4 times? I thought it was going to be more frequent than that.
No, they gave some sort of hints at it, or like they said, I forgot exactly what they said, but yeah, that's what they're hoping to do. So that is the issue with it. Like, it is a purely psychological quote reset.
So they didn't fix internal at all? They're not even taking another stab at fixing it now that they can hide the internal MMR? So that, like, people wouldn't be like, oh no, I'm losing MMR even though I'm getting 7th place. You don't think they've, like, addressed that issue now that no one can complain about that because they can't see it anymore? And that it'll take them X amount of time to climb up to their old MMR, so you could, like, fuzz so many things, right?
Look, so here's the thing. I obviously don't know the inner workings, but judging from, where people are ending up and how things are shaking out, it's looking like they didn't change anything about it, and all they did was keep the old system and your old scores the same with the bad inflation that I was talking about, and then just forced you and basically was like, okay, just get back there and then continue this. So it didn't stop this like bad rat race. It just transplanted everyone a mile back and then have them continue on such that, they can keep on running the rat race. That's it.
So we're seeing, like, not just you're saying, like, the top 50, the top 100 look like very similar to the people who were there before.
Well, not exactly yet because
people haven't gotten there yet.
Right. But for the people who had really high MMRs, where they are easily able to get to / where they are slowing down. Like, Sun, you said you started slowing down around 11.5K, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a little bit under where I was.
Yeah, so I saw for like Victor and Wobble specifically, they didn't slow down at that point just yet. They started slowing down around like 12.5 or 13, around there. And that's a reflection of them being higher. And then whenever I go to like Bob's Tavern, the subreddit, people are asking, like, hey, when did you start slowing down? Someone was like, oh, I started slowing down around like 7K because they stopped at around 8K, right? And because for people like me and Sun who ended higher than like 8K, we moved past that, right? Like, there was like, if you got 4th place at 7 or 8K, you were still getting plus 300 easily because it was still shooting you up. So yeah, it was not really a change, and to me that's like super disappointing because I'm like, now you have an opportunity to actually change this, to make a better system, to make it more relevant instead of this constant inflation. So I was really disappointed to see that. And Sun, it seems like you're also kind of like, what was the point of this, right?
I mean, I kind of like the resets in general because it gives you something to work towards too again. For example, like if you looked at the old leaderboard, there were like players on there that seemed to be very inactive, but like somehow they just got super high elo, and maybe they abused like quad keys. Oh, we can talk about quad keys too.
Oh,
why?
No. Do not get Merc started on quad keys.
No.
Oh, if you guys look at Bob's Tavern for subreddit right now, it's a giant Merps rant on quad queues. It's actually not that giant. You actually were very concise. I was surprised at the short length of that post.
So angry.
You're like, I need to submit immediately now. But yeah, we could talk about quad queues. Let's talk about how quad queues still exist and how leaderboard players are using it.
So look, we've talked about leaderboards for a little bit, and it is a good segue into it. But I played a game last night where I told myself I wasn't going to play anymore, and then I was like, you know what? I just watched Sun and Celissa cast some really good games. I'm kind of hyped up. Maybe I should queue in. What's the worst thing that could happen? And here's what happened. I played Ragnaros, the best hero, and I was about to activate Ragnaros' hero power on turn 6. So this is early. This is super early. And I was only 1 kill away, which means I was going to get it. And I had a pretty strong board. It was like the perfect start to a Rag game. Bob was like feeding me all these powerful minions. And then I was facing Jandice next. So I queue into Jandice on my turn 6. And I'm about to activate my hero power. As long as I kill 1 minion, only to see Jandice has 0 minions. 0 minions on board.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, maybe she rage quit, right? People rage quit and then they do this. Like, I'm unhappy about it, but fine. I check back on her next turn and she somehow miraculously wins her next battle, even though she had no minions on board the next turn. And then later on, she dies. And then when I face her ghost, I see that she conveniently left a single brand on the board. And there was a Rafam in the game. I'm like, oh, how easy is it for the Rafam to steal? So anyways, the Jandice succeeded in slowing me down a little bit. But through my, 500 IQ plays and through my amazing skill, I was able to get to the finals where, lo and behold, I faced the Rafam. And the Rafam is huge. Somehow he was able to scale, and oh look, there's a brand on his board. I wonder how he got that brand. And then so I'm pretty unhappy at this point, as you can tell from my voice. And I checked the leaderboards to see, is this Rafam on there? And yes, the Rafam is top 100 on NA. Even top 80 on NA. I will not go into more specifics at this point because I don't want to call them out specifically, okay? And that felt terrible. That felt terrible. Going back to Ixar's comment where solo players will not even notice or care most of the time, Ixar, I care, okay? I care deeply.
But Ixar doesn't care about you. No, and players like you, so he's not when he talks about players, you're not included, or you're included as a 0.0001%, so you're included to the degree in which you matter, right? Which is not a lot.
Yeah, I feel like they thought it wouldn't be so noticeable, but of course, in instances like this, it's super noticeable. And of course, like if you quad queue with people, you can just decide, okay, we're boosting your elo today. And we're gonna give you all the Rafams you want.
Mm-hmm.
Not Rafams, brands you want. Or anything.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And I don't know why the quad queues are still a thing. For example, like when quad queues came out, I quad queued with Show, Salty, and Be Nice. You know how my chat looked like? Everyone was so angry at me.
Yeah.
I could never quad queue again. Like, every single streamer stopped it because like the chat exploded. Everyone was mad. Like you can't even play it for fun. Like, it's impossible. Like only like you can do it in secret, not on stream with others. But
yeah. And that's the problem. So we quad queued with Victor, right? It was me, Adopta, Team America, and Victor, and I felt bad for Victor because he had so many people in his chat, just like what you said, Sunglitters. They were like, I'm so disappointed in you. I thought you had integrity. Why are you doing this? This is trash. Like, I'm unsubbing. No. Like, he faced a slew of these sorts of comments. And it got to the point where, and what was the point of us streaming it? It wasn't to gain MMR. It was to show people, here's the potential in it, right? Here's the potential in it. Here's why it's bad. And these people, they, instead of directing their anger at Blizzard, they directed it towards Victor. They directed it towards you, son. You know, they're just like, stop doing this. This is terrible. And then what happens, you know, Show never did it again, right? You never did it again. Victor never did it again. And what happens? So now, like, you know, you watch these streamers, like, oh, this isn't a problem. No one does it. And I'll also say people are terrible at watching for these things, because I watch for it now. And once again, this is going to be, you know, that Charlie from Always Sunny, sort of like Pepe Sylvia conspiracy theory like meme. But people are bad at noticing these things. But once you notice, you see it. Like, I see people not play like minions turn one against each other really often. I'm like, and there's no reason for it, you know? There's no reason for them to not play anything or know that, like, oh, the other guy isn't going to play anything. People are leveling at like strange times, right? And then they level, and I'll watch. I'll be like, oh, they suicide leveled, and then the other guy didn't suicide level, and then they end up tying or like taking no damage. I'm like, wait a second, come on, none of this is like making sense. So the other guy just like sold and bought but didn't play.
Wait, so you're seeing this in your games, or you're seeing this in people are facing on stream? Because I imagine if Victor and Show and whoever like are doing it, they'll call these people out, right, and be like, oh, those guys are clearly, you know, on a team.
Well, I think it's also harder to do when you're streaming, because you're not looking for this, right? You're just like worrying about what you're doing and everything. So like, I probably won't notice when I'm streaming either. But when I play by myself, because when I play by myself and when I'm tryharding, like during the first 2 days when I'm tryharding, I'm like always scouting. I'm always looking. I'm always trying to do this stuff. And I see this stuff, and I'll be like, oh, suicide level. And then I'll want to check back, because I'll be like, okay, how much damage did they take? Like, it gives me an idea of sort of where we're at and the strength of the other guy. And then they take like no damage or 2 damage. I'm like, what? That can't be possible. There's no way, unless ... So it happens a lot. And, you know, I posted about this because it is the most egregious one I've seen by far. It's like a total feels bad man moment, but it's happening a lot. And the worst part is, because streamers are bullied into not doing it, people will keep on watching. It's like, well, look, you know, Crypt doesn't do it, Slissa doesn't do it, Sun doesn't do it, Dog doesn't do it, Victor doesn't do it, Wobble doesn't do it. That means people aren't doing it, right? Blizzard is true. People don't do it, and it's not a problem, because, you know, none of these people do it, and these are some of the best players. No, it means that like the worst case scenario has happened, and it's, you know, happening in the shadows, right? It's so the guy who did it, I searched him up. They're not a streamer. They're not someone I know in the community. And of course, it's these people that are doing it, right? They don't have any reputation to maintain. They just purely want to move up on the leaderboards. Well, and I understand.
Yeah, I mean, they're just playing the game the way it should be played.
Exactly. No. Like, there's
the problem with Victor, the problem with Dog, the problem with like Sunglitters is you care about what your audience thinks, and that's a huge burden on you. Like, that's you're not playing the same game that someone who's tryharding for the leaderboard is playing, because Blizzard made a new rule. And the community made a new rule, right? The community said, you cannot play the game to maximize your rating. And you capitulate to that, because that's your audience, right? You're like, if everybody hates you for doing it, you're not going to do it unless it's like something, you know, that you like absolutely have to do. I mean, this was all like, I'm surprised at the kind of blowback, the very consistent blowback that everybody gets for doing 4 stacks. I figured people would be like just kind of accepting that that's the new reality of how this game is played. So that's what confuses me. But I mean, people don't like change, I guess. They prefer the game to remain. And I think it says a lot about the game, right? That all these people prefer that the game be played solo. And that when you try to 4 stack with other people, like, everyone's really, really upset. The whole audience of Hearthstone Battlegrounds is super upset when people try to play with 4 stacks. And there's Blizzard sitting there saying, like, everybody wants 4 stack. They want 4 stack so much. We're going to take off all the guardrails, potential guardrails on 4 stacking, because this is just such a, you know, way to play the game that everybody will be able to do it like this. but that's not what people want. At least not people who watch Twitch, and not people who, well, I mean, yeah, at least not people who watch Twitch. And I don't think most of the top players want it either. And so you have this kind of alignment. But Blizzard's not aligned. Blizzard's on the other side.
Definitely. Like when the quad queue was announced, I was like, okay, this is gonna be the new thing. Because if you don't do it, you will not be able to keep up. So what I did was I invited every single Battleground streamer into this server. And I was like, okay, here we can organize our quad queues. We're going to quad queue all day because else we will not be able to keep up on the leaderboards. But nobody uses it because people hate it. It's, we just can't do it as streamers. And it's kind of a disadvantage. And even if people are not using the quad queues, it just feels bad to know that you could get scammed by them, and then you just look for it, and then it just it's not a good feeling. I'd rather have that it doesn't exist, or that there's a separate queue for it. But I also think if there's a separate queue for it, I think it would be dead, and the queues would take like 20 minutes or something.
That's why Blizzard doesn't do it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that says so much, right? If it's dead by itself, doesn't that just speak volumes about the feature?
Yeah.
I don't,
I'm not sure why it was implemented at the same time as 8-player lobbies, because I feel like the 8-player lobbies is super sick. But I don't know why we need quad queues too. When we have, like, the duo queues, I thought were problematic already. And not many people complained about them, but like with quad queues, it's just like way too overwhelming to play against 4 people.
Yeah, the power level is, for those who might not have thought about it a lot, when you increase the sort of team aspect of it from 2 people to 4 people, you're not just doubling the effect. You're able to influence the lobby so much more and really funnel MMR so much more into whatever player you want to funnel it towards.
We've done the thing with Victor. It's about 100 MMR per hour that we hit, and we were not funneling MMR to Victor.
We weren't even funneling.
We were trying to split it, except Victor was just better than us.
He was just better than us.
So he got the MMR when it came down to like top 3. All right, let's just do whatever, right? Like he would win it like at a hugely disproportionate rate, and then we're like, yep, of course, it's Victor. But we were trying. We were not feeding him. If we were feeding him, we could have gotten him like 200 MMR per hour, probably. It's just, how do you compete with that?
You've played quite a bit together, right? I couldn't watch those streams because I was sleeping at the times, but I think you played a few days of this quad queue stuff, right?
Yeah, I think we played 2 days. We played 2 nights, and then like it's not that fun, and you have to like be on, like, and then there's a lot of coordination, and nobody liked it. Like it's just it's like working for your MMR, right? Rather than playing the game. And it's improving all these skills that we all think should be irrelevant for Battlegrounds. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, and I will say, thinking about quad queuing, it would be so powerful in this meta. Like, so ridiculously powerful, right? Because, like, it's about high rolling and everything. Like, man, your ability to just super high roll and to just go for it safely now is amazing here. So yeah, it's crazy. I'm disappointed, and once again, I'm not advocating for any sort of team play. I'm just saying, in the current leaderboard system, or in order to have any sort of competitive leaderboard, it has to be solo queue, and then we can give like casual group play, whatever. Like there's many solutions to it. It's just, if you want competitive integrity for a leaderboard, you can't have group queues with solo queues at the same time. You just can't. So either split it up or do something like that, but it just can't be like it is in its current state.
They don't care right now. They'll get it together eventually. I don't think 4-stack queues will be in Battlegrounds without something happening to it in the long term. Blizzard doesn't think that. But Blizzard also doesn't care if you have to deal with it for the next 8 months until they, get the other features together. Because really, you're not important. Sun's a little more important than you, but she's not that important either. Like, The viewers, our viewers, Sun's viewers, everybody's viewers are more important than we are, but still, again, not that important in the big scheme of things. Like, it's not where the incentives are.
Complaining recently about the quad queues, or since streamers are stopped to do it, that maybe people don't complain anymore because they don't see it? Because I haven't seen much, but I'm not really on Reddit.
People are quiet about it. They don't complain about it. If you bring it up, they'll all be aligned the same. Like, no one's opinion has changed. They're just like quieter now. It's like, if you talk about Hong Kong, right? No one's opinion on Hong Kong's changed, but no one's talking about it, right? I remember last year around this time with the whole Blizzard Hong Kong thing. I don't think that many gamers were converted into the side of the People's Republic of China over Hong Kong, but no one says much about it. You bring it up, people will be on Hong Kong side more than China side, but can't be focused on everything all the time. And four stacks have kind of just fallen by the wayside. And like Merp said, if you're not looking for it, a lot of it is done very poorly because really it's a whole different skill set. And others are just like a little more hidden, right? Like, especially if it's done poorly, it gets hidden even more because there's not abusing it as much. And on top of all that, probably you're going to see more four stacking if you're at the top than if you're at like the mid range. I think one, because if you're four stacking, you're going to get to the top much quicker, and two, because people care more about their ratings when they're closer to the top. So if you're in that range where you can like face top 200 players, I think that's where you're going to see a lot more four stacking in your lobbies, whether you catch it or not. And those people are a very small minority. Again, Blizzard does not care about these people either. They care about them more than they care about us, but they care about them much less than they care about the people that four stacks are made for, right? The people who are wherever on the MMR scale but want to play with their friends and still want it to be like the real game, right? Not just practice.
Sun, how do you feel about you coming on just for Adult to tell you that Blizzard doesn't care about you?
I feel like they still care. I still have a little bit of hope. But yeah, what I thought what would happen was that they take quad queue out because they so there's like this tournament, at least for the EU leaderboard, that the top 8 will be invited alongside of streamers that they choose to invite. So the leaderboard is not irrelevant because there's money tied to it now with the tournament. So like the top 8 gets invited, and I'm assuming that before every reset they will make a tournament like this because then now the leaderboard counts for something and people have something to work towards too. But if the quad queue is in there, you kind of have to use it.
Yeah, it's something that you kind of have to use, but like streamers are not able to use it because of the pressure, right? So
yeah.
It's
it'll even the playing field for the little guy.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be a nerd about it and grind all day, at least you need to have nerd friends, right? It's just evening the playing field.
Wow. Did you just call Sun a nerd as well? Dude, Sun just came on to just be called so many things and just be, I'm sorry, Sun. Look, it's not me, okay? It's not
Don't
me.
worry. I call you nerd, Steve. I called you nerd when you were 11K after like one day.
That's true. Oh, actually, you tweeted that at me. Oh my God, you did. Oh my gosh.
I remember like in my conversations with Merps after the reset, he's just like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm not going to get my 15 minutes of fame. I just want to see my name up on top of the leaderboard. 15 seconds. I just want to see my name on top of the leaderboard for like a minute, take a screenshot, and then just get lapped. And I am fine with it. But they didn't even reset the leaderboard, so I can't even see it. And then they did, and you were still top 5 when they did.
I was 5, but by that time, Victor and Wobble and Collins had done their Victor Wobble Collins thing. But I knew, like, I reached 10K the fastest out of any. When I was 10K, I think Victor was still 7K. Wobble was still like not 9K. I know. I just shot up. Shot up. Obviously, it came from playing a lot, right? I'm not gonna say I'm like more skilled than them because I'm not. I'm like, but I was pretty good, and I picked it up pretty fast. And I was like, oh, this is nice. And it was still nice to have that snapshot of number 5 because there's nowhere to go but down because I'm not playing it anymore. As you can tell, I'm not like extraordinarily happy with the state of the game. But yeah, like look, I would like to point out the reason I complain is not because I purely like to complain, even though I like to complain. It's because I like the game, right? We're all talking about it because we like the game. Sun, I know you see a tremendous amount of potential in the game,
Hmm.
right? In terms of,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
like the deep strategy, kind of how simple it is to pick up, but it's so interesting. And of course, we all see the potential in tournaments, right? Like the tournament that you're doing, the tournaments that are upcoming. And I just want to see the game succeed. Like, Sunglitters isn't here missing sleep and grinding and calling people nerds because she doesn't see a future in it. It's because like this is the next big thing, right?
I think Battlegrounds will definitely be the future. Have you
Yeah.
seen like people talk about Constructed on Twitter, like how everyone is unhappy with how GM is going? I feel like GM
Yeah.
is not going to be around for much longer, and Battlegrounds will be like the main mode of Hearthstone. So I think there's a lot of future for this game mode. I think it's gonna be the main one, definitely.
Yeah, it's a lot of it comes from how hard it is for you to understand constructed now. Because I'll watch some high level constructed games every now and again, and I literally don't understand what's going on because constructed decks have become more and more niche. They've become more and more about this one specific card, this one weird interaction slash win condition, and I don't understand the game anymore. Whereas, like, look, I've played a ton of Hearthstone, like generally, and I should know this, but I know nothing about it. And whenever I watch it, I don't get it. It's not accessible to me. But if I miss a couple metas of BGs, I can still come back and minions are minions, right? And even in a high roll meta, it's like I understand. Okay, people are tearing up. They're doing this. There's a lot more of a skeleton for me to kind of be like, oh, okay, like here's how the game is. So it's super accessible, and I think that's something that we all love about the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I totally understand the meta now, even though I haven't opened up the game since the patch.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
You guys just described what the elementals do. I'm like, oh crap, that's crazy. But I'm like, I kind of get it. Things are faster now, and then they like snowball really hard, and that's what elementals do. Okay. You don't have that in any other place, and that's what I liked about Arena too, where you always had the classic cards, you always had the whatever. So however weird the meta gets, you have a backbone, and you don't have a backbone in Constructed. You never do. But so, what do you think is going to happen next in Battlegrounds? Like, we just got elementals, right? Everybody predicted elementals because they were the only tribe left that didn't get included. There's no more tribes to add unless they're going to start adding totems or something, which would be weird. So the low hanging fruit for how to expand Battlegrounds is all gone. So what is next for Battlegrounds? Besides, they're going to balance a bunch of stuff, come out with some new heroes, replace a couple of minions, maybe rework one of the tribes, one of the early tribes. But what are we just fiddling with things now, or what's the next big thing in Battlegrounds?
I don't know. Like, I wouldn't know how to implement it, but we could do something with spells. I have no idea how, though.
Oh.
Maybe or like weapons or something that you could use. I wouldn't know how to do it, though.
Yeah, I think the next step might be something that gives you a little bit more customization. So right now, like there's things that are very much set, right? And you have heroes that individually kind of change things around. I don't know, like in other strategy games, for example, in MTG, there's like sideboards, right? And there's all the stuff that you are able to customize about the game and sort of respond in certain ways. Maybe we'll have something like that in Battlegrounds. Not exactly sideboard, but a sideboard-esque kind of capability or technique in which you are able to kind of respond more. Blizzard tries to do that right now with adding tech units, right? For example, we mentioned the tier 4 1/1 poison spore unit. And that is a tech option for when, for example, you see huge elementals, right? Huge elementals. How do you get past that 50 attack, 600 HP Gar? you hit it with a 1/1 spore. So they give you ways to do that, but right now it's still up to a little bit of RNG because you have to find it first. You have to find it, and you might not want to buy it before. So I think maybe because there's a lot of RNG in the game right now, maybe they want to lessen the RNG. I know people are going to laugh. It's like Blizzard lessening RNG, and then giving you a little bit more control on these counter plays. So I'm not sure if that's where Battlegrounds is going, but I see it becoming more and more chaotic. And at some point, I think Blizzard needs to reintroduce a little bit of counterplay and control to the players.
Yeah. So, like, big announcements are probably coming soon, right? Because it's always around the time where BlizzCon is, right? So maybe we will have some announcement then. Oh, what I was also thinking about is like monetization of Battlegrounds. I feel like they could do so much more. For example, I want skins. I want skins for heroes. I want like new boards maybe, or like maybe a new Bob,
New Bob.
a new Bob, like different versions
Bobs.
or something, or more emotes.
Just skins for Bob. Like, it's going to cost way too much money to make skins for each hero, right? Like, besides changing colors and stuff, but skins for Bobs, that's a good investment.
Son, if they made an ultimate BM emote package, how much would you pay for that?
Everything. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people would pay a lot of money, and when Blizzard makes more money from Battlegrounds, then maybe we get more tournaments too.
Yeah, I think so. I like that monetization strategy because as we've seen, if people are really into a game, they'll pay a lot for cosmetics. They'll pay a ton for cosmetics, and right now their monetization system it's just a feels bad kind of system because you want to play with the new heroes, you don't get to play with the new heroes, and it is a little bit surprising because what we've seen is other companies gravitate towards, okay, we're going to monetize off of these things that have nothing to do with gameplay, but people still really care about, right?
For example, I played League of Legends before Hearthstone, and skins, they had nothing to do with like the gameplay or whatever, but people bought them a lot and made a lot of money with it too. So yeah, I would love to see skins.
Because right now there's a cap on how much money you can give Blizzard for Battlegrounds.
Yeah.
And that's it. And they need like monetization strategy that'll uncap it so that people can put as much money into the game as they want. That's how you capture the whales. And they're just not at that stage yet in their monetization. I'm sure it'll get there, whether it's skins or something else. There's no way they're going to keep it as just like some kind of like flat rate, right? Like even in Arena, they made Arena cards be able to be golden based on your collection in order to tie it into their main econ system. The real challenge for Blizzard in the monetization or in just like moving the game forward is like, how do you tie it into the main game of Hearthstone at all? Because it's such a totally different animal. Like how, if no one is playing Constructed anymore and already no one plays Arena anymore, then what are the use of expansions? If like 75% of the player base is Battlegrounds now.
All right, look, no more card expansions, skin expansions. All skins, all the time.
Yeah, and new minion reveals.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like you could do a lot of things with this. Or like have
on everything. Okay. So you can have, oh my gosh, minion packs, right? So like, for example, right now you can have Wrathweaver and it'll turn to golden version of Wrathweaver. But have you thought about Wrathweavers with party hats?
I would buy it.
You would exactly. You would buy it. I would buy it too. Right? You want the Wrathweaver with the party hat. I do too.
Oh my god. Like in Fall Guys, right? They have like this rotating shop. Yeah, we could have a rotating shop in Hearthstone, and then it's like the feeling, okay, if I don't buy this now, it will be out of the rotation. So everyone buys everything, and Blizzard gets trillions of dollars.
Trillions, okay.
Yeah, all right, I think so.
Exactly. So exactly, I'm thinking of like individual, skins for these units, and then they'll have like a big demon package, right? So you'll have like party hats on all the demons, right? So when you play demons, it's demons with party hats, and then I don't know, with pirates, you can have like, you know, tutus or something. So all the pirates have tutus on them. Huge. You know how much Slissa would pay for that? She would give like her entire monthly Twitch to have pirates with tutus. Like, dude, I would pay for this. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Blizzard, feel free to use this idea and only give me like 80% of the profits. All right. Like this is for you guys. So that's, I don't know, I complain about the game a fair amount. You know, Sun, I'm sorry we dragged you on just to talk a lot about, you know, he's like, oh, the meta is this, but man, we really like the game, right? I did not grind the game for 2 days and get the high on the leaderboard just for me to be like, oh, well, I hated it before and I hate it now. I love the game, man. It's got so much potential. It's so good. And I think the most important thing is when people hear about us being like, okay, this needs to improve, it's because we want to see an improved product so that we can grind even more, right? Like, Sun wants to get to the point where she never, ever sleeps and she just chugs energy drinks and she's just playing Battlegrounds in a dark, empty room for the rest of her life, right?
Yeah. You know what would also be cool? With monetization, maybe like achievements. Like people wanted achievements for so long. But now imagine you have a shop and next to it there's an achievement board.
Oh.
Hello.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can have achievements on how many skins you bought. So you sell even more skins.
You're talking Adukta's language.
Hearthstone is the only Blizzard game that does not have achievements. The only one. I don't know why. I have to think it's because the spaghetti code actually makes it impossible to make achievements appear in game somehow. I don't have any other explanation for why that wasn't a thing at this point. It's been what, like 7 years since the game came out?
But like the leaderboards are external as well, right? Like if it doesn't fit into the game, then you can external.
Yeah. I mean, I don't care if the achievements are just like, as long as it's officially recognized by Blizzard somewhere, I'll do them. I'll do all of them. I'll play constructed for achievements. I don't care.
Oh my god, that's desperation mode right there. Okay, so look, Sun, we've addressed a lot of stuff. We've talked about the meta. We've talked about the tournament. We've talked about group queuing. Okay, a sensitive subject for me. Is there anything else you wanted to talk about that we haven't touched upon yet? Seems like a no. No, you don't have to say yes. That's fine. That's fine. Because I have food right here as well. And if you say no and we end this, I get to just gorge on the food. And that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But no. Thank you for sharing your insight with us today, especially because, you know, like the new patch just came out. And it's great to have someone who has played a ton, who has casted a tournament, and who will continue to play a ton and never sleep. So it's been really fun having you on. Thank you.
Especially never sleep.
Never sleep. What time is it there right now?
1:30 a.m.
Oh, that's not bad. You could go on for 5 more hours. All right. Before we let Sun go, I want to announce again, if you didn't catch the last Lightforge podcast, we have stickers. You just have to email grinninggoatgaming@gmail.com and we will mail one to you if you have been a sub for 12 months or longer at any point in our Twitch chat history. If you were a former mod or a current mod, or if you were a patron of the, I think, like $6 amount or more at some point over our history that we can confirm. So just shoot an email over. We will pay for all the shipping and everything. We just have some stickers that we want to get out. Anything else we want to cover before we end this?
No, I have food. I want to eat my food.
Okay, we'll let Sun sleep and let you gorge on food. Until next week, this is Adwikta.
Smurf, see you guys.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Sun, so much for coming on here. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for having me. It was fun. Bye.